Robert?
How are you?
Getting a little chilly these days.
Yeah.
What'd you have?
I said I had 30 degrees.
I can believe that. Right. My grass is white, that's for sure.
Yeah, I had 29.
Did you?
I guess she's not gonna be here.
I used to let
Yeah, she's out of town.
my wife left this wagon out to fill up with water.
Okay. All
A
right.
big chunk of ice.
Yeah, we're gonna pass it.
I had ice cream.
Did you?
You get a lot of dew in the fall.
Well,
Dew?
Dew. You know,
Like condensation?
yeah. And it was apparently froze.
Really? Oh, wow.
There's a little walkway that's got air underneath, like it's kind of fridge. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't quite awake. Are you? You're gonna like those boundaries.
Yes. I'll get to it this fall. Believe me, yes. I'll put over to the side to get to it.
There's a corner down there. It's in contention.
evening.
Is that you, Adam Sanders? I just told Penny I haven't seen you in a long time. Sometimes that's good.
I just went too much.
Everything is sure about
Yeah, sometimes they keep a low profile works out well.
Especially in
How you been? Good. So you're over in risk section?
Yep. Yeah, been there for about 4 years.
You own or rent or
We
you own? Where you working now?
Everett Gardens in Gettysburg.
What?
The gardens in Gettysburg.
Oh, yeah?
I just moved, got there like 6 weeks ago. But then I had to leave for 2 weeks because I had cancer.
Have a seat in the front row.
That's good.
It was the top half of this kidney. I just got back 2 weeks ago after the result. So, fun stuff.
Yeah, best.
You know how it is, goes through the family.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
A few weeks before.
Yes.
Brandon, I think she printed you an agenda, so.
Did she?
Okay.
I gave him a packet again. Barlow had it.
Where's Mickey?
Yeah.
You know,
But it didn't, I'm not sure.
Well,
Time to celebrate Wendy, you wanna call Mickey? Make sure it's okay? It's not chasing loose cows? Huh?
I mean, I make sure I have correct.
I didn't bring my cell phone, I'd do it. I might be out chasing loose cows.
He
eighth grade, it's good for us.
How you doing, John?
Fine, thank you, how are you?
Sober so far.
Oh, well, that could be good, could be bad. Oh, I noticed that the light, the garage was on over there.
I did too, but I didn't bring my keys. I was going to get them taken care of.
That's just the agenda.
Yeah, they were working on snow out there. I think they got
So
first.
it's on down.
I've done that before. That building gets a good bit of light in it, actually.
Good evening. Well, we saved your seat.
Thank you. You didn't really have to do that.
Well, we're up to the adjournment point anyway, so.
Sorry about that, I'm running a little late there today.
No problem.
I think you just about right on time.
Right on time, yeah.
I was worried about this fellow. He might have been out looking for this big great that massive buck. I thought maybe he was going to call me and come and pull it out of the woods. But I didn't get a phone call. Here, I'm sorry, here's your packet.
Yeah, that's what I was printing.
Oh, all right. Sorry about that.
It's not a copy of the draft. Probably won't work that thing.
Maybe.
Okay, well, it is 7:30, so we're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. Stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wendy, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Barlow? Mr. Jackson?
Here.
Mr. Keibel?
Here.
Okay. Well, before we start public comments, for those that may be joining us by telephone tonight, if you want to call in and talk tonight with us, our number is 832-831-2424, and the conference ID number is 280672. Okay, any public comments? Your public comment? Okay, supervisor comments.
Okay, got a few tonight. A couple weeks ago, I attended some meetings on behalf of Liberty, and first was a FREMA meeting. That's Fairfield Regional Emergency Management Association. And it's a good organization that keeps us posted on all the federal regulations, and we're ready, if that dam should ever break over there in Carroll Valley, we're ready to jump into action. No, but seriously, it's a good organization, and one of the subjects that came up was making sure that our supervisors qualified by taking they call it the NIMS test, 100 and 700. And that's important to the extent that if there's any kind of a federal emergency, which we have had one, we won't get any money unless the three of us have certificates indicating that we've completed those courses. And Wendy has the information on how to do it, and we're going to combine forces with Highland and get that underway. But I think it's important. And we did like $8,000 a few years ago, so we would have missed it probably. At least that's what the law says. We weren't qualified. The second meeting I went to was the fire department, and I hadn't gone to a fire department in quite a while meeting, but I was kind of surprised by the comments of the fire chief down there. He said that he believes that he heard that Liberty had discontinued its fire tax and wanted to know if he was going to get any money from Liberty to support the fire department. I said, well, I don't. It sounds to me like you've been misinformed. And so I thought maybe I'd just very quickly relate the history of this fire tax. I've been with it since the very beginning, about 10 years ago. And the fire departments are in trouble. Greenmount reportedly didn't have enough money to buy tires for their truck on their fire engine, so they couldn't even put a fire out if they got called. And so on down the line. All the fire departments are having trouble. And it fell to the municipal council of government to come up with a plan. So we discussed it for ad nauseum, came up with the conclusion that to avoid having to have a paid fire department, if we want to keep a volunteer fire department, we had to pony up some money to help support them. And then we the plan was to have a fire tax, and municipalities responded in various ways with donations. Some of them said, to hell with the whole thing, we don't care if our township burns down. And the others said, well, we'll have a fire tax and so forth. Finally, worked its way out, and Liberty increased the property tax by 1/4 of $1 mil. I think it's about $26 a family to make up a contribution. The total contribution from Liberty taxpayers amounts to about $39,000 a year. And we did the most logical thing at the time. We split it 3 ways. We have 3 fire departments that take care of us: Fountaindale and Fairfield and Emmitsburg. And we said, well, 3 departments, give each one of them a third.
Unknown caller.
You want to take
Sorry.
over? Anyway, we're thinking about that for a while. It seemed kind of silly because doesn't recognize how much help we get from each of the fire departments, and it's certainly not 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So we came up with a better solution, and that was to base it on number of service calls that they made, how many fires they put out, and how many ambulance calls, and so forth. And during this whole thing, the ambulance corps was in 1 month and out the next, and in 1 month and out the next. And the fire tax was supposed to be cover the fire departments and the ambulance. Then it wasn't. Then it was. Then it wasn't. So it was a real confusing setup for quite a while. And we adopted an ordinance that said what we needed to say to pay our 3 fire departments, and how we pay them is up to our discretion. And some municipalities base it on the property tax, some on the square miles of area they cover, and the others on the population count. So there are a variety of systems, but it seemed to us that the best system was based on the number of calls that were made in our township. And so we proceeded on that basis. And at that time, EMS, ambulance service, came out of the fire department. The fire department owned the ambulance, so it didn't make much difference whether we included or excluded the ambulance. What we paid in Fairfield went to pay for their ambulance. Then ARMS was formed. We transferred the ambulance service over to an independent organization, which I don't want to take the time to go into the details of that, and I don't know all of them. But anyway, they are on their own. They didn't ask us for money, but we wanted to be able to include them in our donations if they were the ones providing the service, since Fairfield wasn't going to provide them anymore. That seemed to make sense. But that came a crop of our ordinance, which didn't specifically allow us to do that. So Mr. Lisco prepared a change in the ordinance, and we in effect wiped out the ordinance that called it a fire tax, and we just took the money into our regular property tax and put it in our bank account and started distributing based on our best judgment about where the service came from. Now the fire departments now submit call reports, service reports, so that at the end of the year we can determine how much service was contributed by each of the departments, and it seemed like a pretty good system. So far from telling the fire departments to go to hell, I tried to explain the system and the logic behind it, and that seemed to mollify them a little bit, because they're getting pretty desperate now with this COVID and everything. They're not having bingo as much as they used to, and things are getting pretty tight. And it still remains a challenge, because we don't have a volunteer fire department. We're going to have to really pay through the nose for a higher department. So that's where we stand on that, and we're going to be talking about it either later in this meeting or at our budget meeting next week. Try to decide exactly what we should contribute to each of the fire departments. And that's the end of my comments tonight.
Okay, thank you. Bobby?
First off, I'd like to congratulate the 3 people in our township that won their office: Brandon Lowe, Sue Heck, and Jessica Olko. Congratulations. Next, I'd like to remind citizens that leaves are falling, keep them away from the culverts at your driveway. so water isn't running out on the road and so forth, and keep the culverts clear. So that's about all I have to say right now, because I know you got a lot to say.
I actually have nothing to say.
Oh,
Huh,
how's that?
stick that in your ear. All right, so that's on in, the supervisor comments, we'll move on to, our minutes. Item 4, October 5th, 2021, our regular meeting. Did everyone have an opportunity to review, the meeting minutes for, the October 5th meeting?
I did, and I make the motion, can we accept them?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good deal. Make sure I have them all together here. So I don't mess something up. All right, the treasury report. Everyone had an opportunity to review the treasurer's report, for October. If so, you have a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, then we're gonna go to expenses for 9/8/2021. We'll do these line items, each one, that way we get them, we don't have to mess them up. So, do everyone have an opportunity to review the expenses for 9/8/2021?
I did, and I'll make a motion, we accept them.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and now 10/5/2021. Everyone have an opportunity to review those?
I did, I'll make a motion, we accept those as well.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Now we're gonna be right into payroll. We'll have an opportunity to review the payroll for 9/26 through 10/9.
I had a chance to review it, and I make a motion that we adopt it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the payroll for 10/10 through 10/23. We have a motion for the payroll.
Yes, so moved.
All in favor?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. See, this is how quickly we just go right through that, and then now we're gonna do, the police report. That'd be Mr. Reason tonight. Sherry is away with us, so Reason is, Chris is keen to help us tonight.
Oh, boy.
We're glad to have him with us. Go ahead, brother.
Well, filling in for Chief Hansen, who couldn't be here tonight. Just some notes that Chief Hansen had down for the month of October. Chief Hansen attended the Halloween party at Greenmount Fire Department on the day before Halloween. I participated in the drug take back over at Carroll Valley on October 23rd. Chief Hansen reviewed an application for employment as a part-time police officer for Ryan Morris, who is present here with us. Ryan, you want to stand up and introduce yourself?
I'm Ryan.
All right.
Let's put a face with the name.
Do you want to know, introduce myself if you'd like to know any information.
I read your resume and so forth, I think, I'm sure these guys did. I can say that it was somewhat impressive, so.
Absolutely.
Chief Hansen recommends that we hire Ryan.
I was gonna say, I think I you see where that might be.
Included with the report, just the statistics for the month of October, 21 calls for service were handled by the department, 4 calls for service were handled by state police when we were not on duty. 50 traffic citations were issued, as well as 9 warnings and 4 faulty equipment violations. Work proceeds with the contract for Freedom Township. Included with the packet of information is a proposal to purchase 2 new tasers. There's a quote here from Axon Enterprises in the amount for $4,343.99. This quote is good until 12/31 of this year. We received a $500 donation from the Fairfield AMVETS towards the purchase of the tasers. We may also get another donation from the Blue Ridge Sportsman's Club toward the purchase of these tasers in the near future. And I can answer any questions as far as the devices themselves, if there are any questions on that.
I have one question on the quote. If you look up there at the top right, it says quote expiration is 10/31.
Correct. Chief Hansen did contact the sales rep from Axon and told them that we were waiting approval for the budget, and they just extended the quote.
I've got a question. Why do we need new tasers?
That's a very good question, Mr. Jackson. We have currently 2 tasers in service. One is practically out of service. The 2 tasers that we have in the township's possession are the X26, which probably means absolutely nothing to you, but they're essentially the first generation of taser that Taser developed maybe about 20 years ago. One is barely functioning. The township sent me to Taser Instructor School maybe about 3 or 4 months ago. We do need the new equipment just based on the service life of the 2 devices that we have. The quotation are for the 2 newest devices that Axon has developed. They're state-of-the-art devices, far more effective than the current devices that we have. For past devices that departments have, Axon has buyback programs. The Taser devices that we have are so old that Taser will not take them back. So we do need new devices, and the opting for the newest platform was what Chief Hansen decided to do.
And I'll also add to that, I was with Officer Corey Emmerman a month or so ago, and we were looking at these tasers and they misfired 3 times. And that's because they are outdated and they're old and they're not reliable. And as I said to Corey at that time, if we have tasers that are not reliable, we can't have our police officers pull those on. If they need to pull them in an incident and they misfire, that could be their life. And so we don't want that to happen. That's when we started looking at getting him trained for one, and then looking at purchasing new tasers because ours are outdated and they're malfunctioning. So that's a safety issue to me when they malfunction. Since we're on that note, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we go forward with these taser replacements. As he did say, we did submit a proposal to the Blue Ridge Sportsman's last Friday actually, for reimbursement for these. You may know that about 3 months ago we approached the Blue Ridge Sportsman's for $4,800, and they gave us a complete check for $4,865 to buy our new MRAD. So they're certainly willing and to support us and to make donations to our police department. So I want to make a motion that we go forward with the purchase of these here, and if it benefits, if they do come back and give us some money, hey, that's good for us. If not, we still would have the tasers that our officers need.
Discussion.
Go ahead.
As Blue Ridge Sportsman indicated that they would be willing to donate any or all.
They took our application, last week, and they indicated to me that they had plenty of money to donate to the municipalities, not only ours, but the other surrounding municipalities, and that if we ever needed their help and support, they would most certainly help and support us. But they didn't concrete say, they can't take it to the board.
They got to go to
They
the
can't go
board.
to the board. But in all likelihood, we will probably get money from them. Because they made it very clear to us, to me, many times, that anything we needed, just bring it to them, and they would take care of it. I'm like, okay.
Shoot, wanna ask something else? Okay, go ahead.
Well, I'm done.
He made the motion, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Loser? You get your tasers.
You got it in your budget?
I believe so.
Leave it does. Actually, I believe it does. Now, before we move on to the police department, we do want to, everyone has had an opportunity to review Ryan Morris's application, and hopefully you had an opportunity to do that. I know Wendy passed that out to us a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. As Bobby indicated, it's very impressive, your application, and you've got a lot of extensive training. My only thing is, wow, why we want to come here, but okay. We'll take you anyhow. So I'm going to make a recommendation tonight that we move forward with the hiring process for Ryan. I know the chief is not with us tonight, but we did discuss this. We are taking on a new contract with Highland Township in the near future. And we have Freedom Township for another year. So we're just looking to add new part-time officers to help us with manning those hours that we've already contracted to. So we're going to make a motion that we move forward with hiring Ryan for this position. Do you have anyone that wants to discuss?
Well, I'll just say I am very much in favor of adding experienced people to our police force. We, in my opinion, do two things in this place: provide roads and police coverage. And that's a very important part of our operation here. And I think we do it the right way. We don't go out and like stormtroopers and measure heights of tree branches and things like that. But I think we apply the right amount of policing where it's necessary, and people who are DUI and speeding and overload and so forth. So I'm very much in favor of hiring. Welcome.
Thank you.
We haven't hired you quite yet. We got a couple more.
Bobby?
I'll second the motion.
Hang on just a second, dude. I need to figure out something. We have to go through the payroll. Wendy, do you know what the current starting rate for part-time is for police officers?
I don't know what Sherry is recommending. I didn't know that she was recommending it.
She did, that's why I'm asking.
Well,
Did she discuss that with you?
can we take it up can we add it to the agenda for next week?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So pending our,
Yeah, we'll set the salary, we'll set the
At the
starting rate
November 10th.
at the November 10th,
okay.
meeting. Okay? All right, so I have a motion, I have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Welcome aboard, brother.
Thank you.
Now, I do know, that Sherry has another applicant, Brian, I believe is his name. He wasn't able to get his application in by the time we had our meeting here. But on the same token, he has an extensive background in policing. Do you know,
It's Dan Gaskin.
yes.
Yes, he works for me.
Oh, he worked, yeah, I thought he worked for you, actually. I did think he worked for you. So, he has also applied for us, and Sherry would like to move forward with also hiring him, but he has not got his resume back to us, so, we may end up taking that up at the next meeting.
Okay, if he brings it in, we'll add it to the agenda.
Okay.
It's actually my fault. We have a Marine Corps in town training with us, and he
Okay.
hasn't had a moment to breathe.
Oh,
So
okay,
I've been keeping him busy.
okay, all right.
Mr. Barlow,
Yeah.
will Officer Morris be working for us within the next week or so? I mean,
No,
oh, okay, all right.
no, he's not the next week or so, no.
Yeah,
All right.
she'll hope to get him on in December,
She's-
sometime in December for training.
All right, I just want to make sure we set his rate before he
Oh,
starts.
definitely.
Oh, he's gonna do that for,
You gotta do it.
Unless,
I thought he was gonna do that for free.
Officer Rusin, do you know what the starting rate for part-time
Well, I
officers
don't
is?
know what Sherry wants to say.
Yeah, I don't know, I know it was 21 something, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
Okay, all right, well, as long as he's not gonna work,
No,
Till
he
we
won't
set
work
his
until
rate.
after we set the
Go
rate.
on. Okay, I believe that's all we need to do for the police department now, so we're gonna move over to the zoning. And in zoning, I have a blank sheet.
No, there weren't any
anybody want to approve the zoning? Yes. On that topic though, I do want to bring to the board's attention, I don't know if you've got a chance to see your emails today, a couple of zoning issues that we have in the township, with a couple of our different property owners, that have been cited multiple times. One particular person has paid quite a few fines in it. I believe what we need to figure out what we want to do next, because they just keep going to court, pleading guilty, paying their fines, and then in 30 days we recycle them again. So, Mr. Lisco, what would your suggestion be on this? 'Cause-
Question.
yes.
You say she has paid all of her fines?
She pleads guilty and pays them.
She's
And
pleading
paid all
And
the
guilty.
then she
fines.
gets cited again and pleads guilty and
And
pays
she's
them.
getting ready to get another. She's getting ready to get another 14 citations to her this coming week.
It's for, I think, $100 each.
The $100, yeah, the $100
All
each.
over the same thing?
Yeah.
So what is our next step? I mean, between Wendy and I, we talked about this. The one thing is, I don't understand why our zoning guys continue to do this. Why do you need to condemn the property?
What is your,
formality?
what is she being, the person being cited for?
Well, the house is falling
The
down.
house the house is
Got holes all
falling
through the
through,
roof, it's falling
falling,
in.
the foundation's falling in and everything.
Yeah.
Well, if the house is,
Actually, she's supposed to tear it down. It was condemned a year and a half ago. She was ordered to tear it down. She's not torn down yet.
well, if it's not habitable, and if it's an unsafe structure, we can file an action in court and get an order from the judge to padlock it and not allow.
You can't padlock it.
There's no way.
It's falling in.
To prohibit her from occupying.
Wait, it
It's
is
not
not.
occupied. No, it's just a condemned, it's sitting on a condemned property.
Raccoons and possums, that's about
Yeah.
it.
Oh, so
The
no one's
problem
living
is
there?
is very close to this particular site is another home that has 4 young boys live there, within eyesight of it. And if those boys get over there playing around and something happens, then we have another issue.
Let me get with, who's been citing her? Clem. Let me get with Clem and I'll see if there's something we could do. I mean, it just depends on, the fact that there's boys there, that may help some. I mean, in one of my other townships, you know, you guys might be familiar with it, there was an old inn across from Red Run Park where a young boy was falling apart, went in and fell through the second floor and got hurt. So we were able to have that. We got an order from the judge, the owner of that property had to remove the building. It's no longer there now. Now we got storage sheds where it used to be. So I mean, you can do it, but it's expensive. You gotta go to court. You know, you're looking at legal fees and things like that. And it's not a guarantee that, you know, I tried another one. It was an old barn, kind of close to the road, but if it fell down, it probably would not have fallen in the road. And the judge said, hey, it's not hurting anybody. If it falls down, let it fall down. Who cares? It just depends on which judge you get, what the facts are. I mean, you know, so it's.
Think of these 4 citations, they're gonna add up to a lot of money.
Oh, yeah, 14 citations is getting next. Yeah.
What I'm trying to tell you is there's no guarantee that you'll get an order, because you can drive around this county, and like you said, there are a lot of old sheds in the middle of the field that if they fall down, who cares? You know, with this house now, it's next to boys, young boys live there, maybe it can be determined to be an attractive nuisance. If there's vermin getting on the neighbor's property and there's proof of that, rats or something like that might help.
See, we have the same issue with the McMaster property too.
And what's the name of this one? So
Ott.
Okay.
And while you're at it, just add McMaster to it too, because it's the same exact issue.
Yeah.
We got a tree sitting directly through the middle of the house. And he's living in a truck on the property.
That's the odd one.
No, that's the
That's McMaster's.
That's McMaster's. Odd is the one that
Yeah.
set the pull from. Okay. I did send you guys some other, and this is another zoning issue that we're probably going to be coming up and dealing with here soon. But I sent both of you guys an email today with pictures.
Yeah.
Did you have an opportunity to look at those?
I don't understand them, but I saw
Well,
them.
I'll just give you an overlay of them from now. What is going on is the driveway was in dispute for many, many years. They went to court. The court finally ruled that the driveway was owned by a particular person or people. They ended up putting speed bump crossings to slow down people running up and down the driveway. But what has happened now, the water that used to run down the driveway and divert to the right side of the driveway onto their property now is diverting to the left side of the driveway, coming down at the people's home at the very end of the driveway, washing out their basement, flooding their basement and washing out their driveway. And so it's a stormwater management issue that we're going to have to address. I think the best approach at this time is to write a letter to the owners of the driveway and bring this to their attention, ask them if they can divert that water.
It's doing this because of the speed bump that was put in
Yeah,
there.
because the way they put
The speed bump.
the way they put it in, now it's shooting all the water coming down the driveway instead of shooting off to the right side.
So if
It's
they,
shooting off to the left side, coming down and going in these people's basement.
if they removed the speed bump, then it would solve the immediate problem of water rushing down.
Well, they didn't have the problem until they put the speed bump in. But it's a private drive, so I don't know how much leeway we have with this other than the stormwater management.
There's no public road involved, just driveways.
Just a driveway. She did contact the state said it's township problem. Oh, Jesus. Thanks a lot.
Well, I mean, a speed bump is nice to have, but if it's creating a condition that is worse.
So I think the best thing probably is tomorrow or sometime this week, I'm gonna call them up, set up a meeting, hopefully I can have them come in here and sit down and talk to them, show them pictures, and they will say, okay, and we won't have to go any further.
Trying to work that one out.
I'm going to, get to it, you want to do it? He drops his head. All right, so, the other thing we have for the zoning board is, Mr. Pat Lawrence wants to, rebuild his was it last year, Bobby?
Yeah.
Last year,
Yeah,
his woodshed burned to the ground.
I remember that.
Remember that? Well, he wants to rebuild his woodshed. And, he's submitted to the board on 11/2, said, dear Board of Supervisors, we would like to replace the 24 by 36 building that burned to the ground in July of 2020. Please find the land use application, which Wendy has, as requested, and we're asking that the township would waive the fees to replace the building that was there. So they're asking us to waive the $90 land use permit fee. They submitted the application, but they want us to waive the fee. I'm gonna make a motion that we waive the $90. He's gonna rebuild the shed that he had. Do I have any discussion?
What, any implications with insurance? I mean, when it burned down, maybe made a lot of profit on the building that burned down.
I don't think he did because it was a woodshed. I don't think he made much. I don't think he made any money on the woodshed.
What
He
did
did make some money
Some
probably when the stuff
unique,
got burnt.
some unique process in there. What did he do in that shed?
He had a wood processor in there, yes.
What's the wood process?
The wood processor is when he split wood. It was a
Oh, it
process.
splits the logs up.
He cuts it and splits it, yes, and it was inside the shed too. It did burn up, so I don't, you know. as far
Yeah,
as
they
ins-
lost that, that was over 20,000.
Yeah, they lost that, yeah. So I'm sure the insurance company didn't replace that, but, and he probably did pay for the shed too, but
How big the buildings are putting up?
24 by 36 is less than 1,000 square feet. It's 864 square feet, I believe, if I'm correct.
Is that something that require inspections?
No building permit is required.
No building
No
permit.
building permit is required.
No.
It's gonna
It
be,
just needs a land use.
I think.
and the thing he was doing too is he's not putting poles in the ground like he was before. He used to have poles in the ground
Yeah.
and wood around. He's actually doing one of those, carports.
Oh, big metal.
He's putting a big metal carport in and just, using the anchors, like the anchor trailer.
Yep.
That's what he's gonna do.
Well, I think a request of $90, to my way of thinking, is reasonable, and I don't think it's setting any great precedents.
No, I don't think so. So, I'll make a motion with granting his
I'll second,
waiver for $90.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you. Okay, I think that's the end of the zoning. Right? Yes. Okay, we're going on to the road department. I'll make this pretty quickly here. The road department in October, of course, from the 4th of October until the 28th of October, was involved in canopy, cutting canopy back in Hamilton Band, 2 weeks in Hamilton Band and 2 weeks in Liberty Township. So we went, split the cost of the equipment for that. And we did get everything accomplished we wanted to do, plus some in our township. We did Bullfrog Road from the township line, from Hamilton Band to the Freedom Township line. We were able to get that done. We did McLaughlin Road at both ends, where we opened the canopy up 45 feet high. And then we was able to go to Liberty Hall and remove 3 dead trees that laying over on the lines. And then we moved on over to Stillman Marker and was able to get Stillman Marker also opened up. We had actually budgeted $5,000 for this project. And we kind of went over, well, we knew it was going to go over that when we did the cost, the split cost. That was $2,125. But then we had to factor in the labor cost, and that's where we have 9,200. Is that total? Yes?
For all 4 weeks.
For everything?
Yeah, for all 4 people in all 4 weeks.
That was just labor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, our labor was 9,243.53.
Not including the rental equipment.
Not including the rental. The rentals were another $2,100. Then we had $284 in invoices for chainsaw, chains, bar and chain oil, we had winding bar.
Oil mix.
Oil mix, stuff like that. So our total price is like 9, 10, 11.
I should be right, it's 11.
Huh?
You see, it's total for, it's 11,000.
Oh yeah, 11,000. Thank you. 11,653.14 is what our total cost. So we were over, definitely over budget on that, but it was something that hadn't been done in ever.
Well,
30 years.
as I said earlier, I think one of our most important challenges is the roads, and that definitely improves the roads, and I certainly would support what you did, and further would ask, are we planning to do this again, because there's some other places in the town.
We are planning on doing this again, and I'll bring this up now since we're on that subject.
Should've started that, Mickey.
Pardon?
He's never should have started that.
Well,
I had placed in the budget for next year. Actually, I'm glad Jessica got this together, but I'd actually raised our budget for tree canopy opening for next year to $10,000, because I knew we were over for this year. But it looks like I'm gonna end up, make some adjustments on that too, when on that. But yes, we are planning next year, doing the same exact thing. Not sure if we're gonna split, the cost with Hamilton Band. That depends on if they wanna do that, but we definitely want to do it. We got more done in the last 2 weeks, of doing it ourselves than what we did last year. We paid a group to come in last year, over $10,000, and they did Liberty Hall and Stoops Road, in a week, and charged us $10,000.
And they didn't do as much as we did.
They didn't even know it was near what we did. So, definitely gonna put that in my budget for next year, for the road department. So the road department, like I said, is pretty much caught up in that whole, job for the whole month of October. So we drove 960 miles, we used 238 gallons of gas and 44 gallons of diesel. What we're doing now is Bruce is gonna be in tomorrow. He's gonna start the second cutting, or our last cutting, along the roadways, for mowing. Today we ended up putting the plow on, Old Yellow and getting the light bars hooked up and running and the spreader box is hooked up. We are gonna be putting a new, cutter blade on that, in a couple of weeks here. Our 550's in the inspection shop right now, getting inspected, and as soon as it comes back, we'll be dressing that out for the snow too. We also had 60 tons of salt delivered this past month. We got 60 tons of anti-skid that's scheduled to come in starting tomorrow. That's about it.
I'll tell you what.
Oh.
That's about it.
You see the new floor that you got your feet on? That was done in October too.
That's right.
Yeah. And, so that got done, the walls got all painted, the trim got put around. So we had a busy month. And, so we got a lot of improvements going on and we had a lot of guys come in and help us out. Ricky, Haywood. Ricky Haywood was working with us for the season. He is now, looking at going to work for, possibly for the state, snow plowing for the state. But, we're hoping next year that we'll get back out here and do some more stuff. We will see this coming month too. I have ordered, high water flood signs for the township, for specifically Winshaw and for, French Creek. So those signs are in, they're already on poles, so we will be probably sticking them up within the next couple of days. And the reason we ordered those is when we have those roads flooded over, the people would drive all the way down to the water coming across the road and turn around and drive back out and say, why didn't someone post them? Well, guess what? We're gonna post them. So if you drive past the signs, I don't wanna hear it no more. So anyhow, so those are things we got going on in the township. We, in our budget meeting, next week, we will be discussing the road department and the projects for next year. We have, a couple of projects, and right now, just briefly, it's gonna be about $160,000 in road projects for next year. We're McLaughlin, going to do a 2-inch overlay compressed, 19 millimeter on the whole length of McLaughlin, and also a 9.5 overlay on Sandwich Road. We did get our permit from the, help me, Wendy.
DEP.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Yeah, we finally got that $4,500 permit. Now we can't do anything because winter's setting in. So next year we will be working on Old Waynesboro on the bridge repair work. And if I read that permit correctly, it's good for 6 years. So we'll be able to do that whole entire bridge over the next 6 years, and we'll have to go back through that god-awful permitting process again. Okay, I believe that's all for roads, unless you have something to add to it, Mike. Okay, Secretary of Treasurer's report.
Oh, well, mine done.
Thank you.
So, as you know, I was going on vacation and I was trying to get one of the supervisors to process payroll, found out no one has the ability to process payroll but me. I do wanna change that and give the supervisors access to that account. And then, Jessica could assist in processing payroll if I'm unavailable. I did talk to the bank, and when I was getting the forms for that, I learned that the payroll limits were $7,000. They're capped at $7,000, and that seems pretty low if we're taking on new employees or over the years. Anybody who's now getting a check decides they want to go on to direct deposit, that limit is too low.
Yeah.
That was set in 2014, so I'm just asking.
So it's just direct deposit?
It's just direct deposit.
What's your recommendation to raise the limit
I
to?
don't know, I was thinking what the normal payroll is, around 8, 9, or 10. I mean, not over 10, but
You sure?
What's the purpose of the limit, so that somebody doesn't walk off with our money?
The purpose of, well, the bank wants us to have a remittance also, yes, I guess. Whoever's processing the payroll, which does still require 2 approvals. It's just to show that what is the purpose of the limit? How much payroll can you do per pay period on a direct deposit? But I think $7,000 is definitely too low, especially if we're getting more
You
employees.
think 10 to 12? 12 too high?
I think 12's fine. I was fine with 10. I just think 7 is ridiculously low if we're good.
Well, what I found this year, in the rec department, or in everything here is, our budget for different departments was low.
Right.
And that's why we're $5,000 or $6,000.
Yeah, this isn't raising payroll, it's just raising a processing limit. Like for some reason, if, like you had the, remember payroll went up a little bit because you guys were all working and doing that project?
That's what I'm talking about.
And if you all were, whoever was working in the road department at the time decided, say, you guys decide you want direct deposit, or whoever is in your shoes next time around wants direct deposit,
Because right
we
now,
wouldn't have
we're
been able to process payroll.
like, because we're at $9,200.
Because right, you guys are getting checks, right, it would've, at $9,000 payroll, that would've been too much payroll for the ACB to allow. It was something the board set in 2014. So that's all it is, it's just to allow a payroll, since our payroll is close to 10, I was thinking just set it at 10, in case people would want direct deposit.
I believe we probably should set it at 12.
Oh, whatever the board
That
decides.
way we have a cushion. We set it at, if we're almost at 10 now,
You set it at whatever you want, I just recommended.
because we got a couple guys coming on, part-timers coming on.
Right. And like I said, if you do any projects like you did before and they want direct deposit, that's what it would be.
No.
I'll make a motion, we move it to
Wait, that was a
12,000.
question. Are you talking about the direct deposit
It's-
payroll?
It's ACB, when we put in the payroll in ACB for direct deposit, we can never have a payroll amount over 7.
Just for direct deposit?
Correct.
Doesn't affect
Yes.
the check?
This is not affecting anything.
Okay,
No live checks.
Yeah, no live checks.
okay.
What is our live check? Do we have a limit on that?
No,
Oh.
no.
Mhm.
So you, Mr. Kyles, you made a motion for 12?
I did.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That should solve that problem, Wendy.
All right.
The other problem we need to solve is, as you indicated, Jessica and I attempted to do payroll.
Right, and that's where.
And we won't allow it, seriously?
Well, if you want to make a motion also then to allow all supervisors to have access for processing payroll, which I don't know why you don't have anyway.
Right.
I don't know why it's not in there. And then I got the forms from ACB, and it's filled out, and I can send it back.
I'll make a motion that all the supervisors have access to.
To create payroll.
To be able to create
In
and
AC,
to,
Now, is that both checks and direct deposit?
You can do, you already have that for checks. You can,
Well,
I can be gone and all 3 of you can sign the checks, it doesn't matter.
yeah.
Okay.
The thing is they just wouldn't let us go through the process.
Yeah, you're allowed to approve all the payroll, but you don't have access to create it. It's just a bizarre, I think someone just overlooked it, or no one was interested or thought about being able to create it. You're the ones who are approving it.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that we,
All right.
correct that issue and all the supervisors are able to create the payroll and to see it through to, approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wendy, anything else?
No, that's all I needed, thank you.
Planning commission.
Okay, we did have a meeting on October 19th, and we recommended approval of the Brown Minor subdivision that was submitted back in June. Mr. Ken Scott is here tonight, if you would like to consider that now. It's under one on the planning commission.
You said the brown, right?
Brown,
This one here is not the brown. This one here.
That's the one Hardball Valley.
Yes. This is the train.
Yeah, Trindle's in there.
Okay.
I make a motion, we approve the Browns subdivision.
Final?
Final.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. We also recommended approval for the non-building waiver that back in September, which was signed, and I think you have copies of.
I don't think it's in your packet.
make a motion that we do the non-billing waiver.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Fine.
The Greenview, the next one is to consider approval of final major subdivision plan dated 8/18/21, revised 9/9. Greenview LLC, Washington Township, Cleveland, Adams County.
This is the property that was in the counties, and this piece is taken out and is only in Liberty Township now, and the boundary has been decided upon by the county. Everybody is in agreement with that. Franklin, Washington has approved this, so this is a single, I think it's 13.7 acres, in Liberty Township. Mr. Royer is here for that.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Just
This is for the,
Greenview.
yeah, Greenview. minor subdivision.
question, are they going ahead with any building on either one of these two lots, or is that canceled?
Well, there's a non-building waiver, which is also here on the park with Liberty Township, and I don't know what Washington County.
So that's Washington, this is just in our township.
We're just trying to split it with this.
Will there be anything built on Liberty?
Not unless whoever buys it, and then they'd have to come in with a plan and whatever.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. You made a motion?
Yeah, you made the motion?
Who made the motion? I didn't hear that. Okay, thank you.
Bob seconded.
All right,
And was that just for the subdivision or also for the non-building waiver?
we'll do that separately.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we did recommend approval of the non-building waiver for that parcel.
I make a motion to do that.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we also,
Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome.
we have, Trider has run out of time. This is the piece where there's a boundary dispute.
Yeah.
And so they are requesting time, an extension of time for that.
How much time did they say? I've read that and I forget.
Oh, it's in the, that one
So,
is in
yeah,
there.
January 31st, 2022.
That's it.
Yeah, that one's in there, yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Nice to see you all.
Safe trip home.
Bring a present back the next time.
Okay. I'll try to come back in December.
Yeah. All right. All right, so, everybody, anybody got any thoughts on this? Bob?
So I think we ought to go ahead and approve it.
All right,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Do that.
Okay, we also recommended denial of request of a waiver for the land development plan for the new hangar at 150 Pitcher Road. And we tabled a review of the development plan as the number of items are missing on that,
Right.
so.
Well, and that was because of the county's comments.
Counties, Conservation District.
Yes. The comments on that as far as the wetland
Engineer.
and the engineering comments on it too.
Right.
And I did get comments back on their, stormwater plan. That was,
Okay.
and Brandon sent them instructions on how to get that corrected. So their stormwater plan still has not been approved for that land development. They have a lot more work to do. And this will be on the December agenda.
Yeah, 'cause that's been tabled, right?
Yep.
That was tabled.
Yeah, so the planning commission will take another look at it, and we'll look at it again in December.
And the last item we had is we had a submitted sketch plan by Mr. Wilders. He did not show up at the meeting, excuse me. The planning commission obviously has no further input on this. It needs to go to, some jurisdiction, either to the court or the zoning hearing board.
Correct.
The next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, November 16th.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, then now we're gonna move into old business, 2022 draft budget review update. Everybody has a copy, Wendy just gave us.
The copy that I just gave you now was me adding the adjustments to payroll taxes that I didn't
Yes.
have. That's all. I didn't make any additional adjustments since I
And
gave it to you.
So everybody has a current budget, draft budget in their possession, correct?
Right.
Yes.
So you're gonna review that the rest of this week, next week?
And then we'll be going over it. If you have any changes between now and the 10th, give them to me, and then we will be putting forth the budget on the 10th.
You have a copy, Brandon?
I didn't give him a copy.
Drainage is our elected, new elected supervisor coming in January the 3rd, so he is, I instructed Wendy to make sure that he has all these things too, that way when he comes in on January the 3rd, he will be up to snuff, so to speak.
I'm saving his chair for him.
Yeah, and I did speak to him about the NIMS, I think I said something about the NIMS, but, there's a training class coming up that we're setting up in Highland Township, Brandon, that all three of the supervisors, Bob already has it, we do not. So, we're gonna do this training all together. That way we all get our certification all together. As Bob indicated, if we don't have, at least one of the supervisors don't have it, we're not able to get any federal funding in case there's a
If you
disaster.
could do that too.
Okay. So, anyhow, please go over your budgets. If you see anything in there you want to change, add, please let Wendy know. Next week, the 5th,
At 6:30.
6:30 is our budget meeting. We have to, come to some kind of agreement on that date, because we need to present it in the December meeting.
Right, it has to be advertised for 20 days before we can.
Yes, before we can actually, vote on it to be approved in the January meeting.
I'd like some clarification on a couple of things here. Well, actually,
Sure.
it's one in particular,
All
fire
right.
departments. First is the foreign fire insurance tax. That was the workman's comp bill that we pay, is it?
No. Well, it's a fund that the government gives us. It comes in from the auditor general to fill out all the paperwork. It's kind of like the pension distribution. They give
Okay.
us funds for fire companies.
All right.
So that should be exactly the same at the top as it is in the expense. It comes in from the federal government and then we disperse it to the Pennsylvania Fire Department. We
Okay.
dispersed that in September.
And so what we ended up doing with that value, if you remember, we split that
Just 50/50.
50/50 for each one of them.
Yeah, we don't have any control over those funds.
That's
They just come
fine.
in
That
from
answers
the-
that question.
Yeah.
The other one is, what line item would donations to fire departments, EMS, or anything that we so desire at this point, the way we have decided to do that portion of business, what line item, does that come under
It's
donations
right
other?
now, it's under donations other, it's just a general, under the general donations.
Okay.
That's not
So
designated.
page 6.
I'm looking at
Okay.
it. Yep, I'm looking at it. And that was-
What that requires then is for us to take a look at the service reports
Yep,
and see who's doing what service, and then decide on which money goes to which.
yep, yep. I just wanted to get the line item there, so I knew
Well,
what.
that has nothing to do with this thing you were talking about a minute ago.
So right now, I had, for example, I lost my page here. I don't know why or where I came up with 38,150 and you two have 39,700.
I think that just could have been a previous number from last year or something.
Okay, that's where I came up with that.
Probably last year's budget.
So it's up to 39,700 right now, is
Right.
what'll be in that, okay.
So do you want me to adjust your item to match?
Yeah, go ahead and do that as well as the foreign fire tax.
Okay.
Yeah, make that too. And, land use permit, I'll concur with what's there as well as the well permit.
Okay, thank you.
I'll get with you after we got a couple more
That
there,
sounds great.
okay?
Sure.
Now, keep in mind, this is the general, budget that you have. Next week, you'll be getting the
Capital funds.
capital funds and also the liquid fuel funds. We'll discuss that more in detail, at our next meeting. I won't do it tonight because we'll be here for a long time.
You said we should spend the weekend reviewing this. I'm gonna have to give up my football game.
Well, you don't have to do the whole weekend.
Oh, thank goodness you said that.
Just give a couple of hours anyhow. All right, we're gonna move on here to Office of Aging, request for donation. Bob, did you?
No, I have not completed my assignment on those two things. I'd like to table them until the summer.
Okay, it sounds fine with me. And that's also the history,
Yes,
we'll
same
take
thing.
them both? Okay, okay, that sounds wonderful. All right, well, we're going to new business. Any public comments on new business? Hear none? Uh-oh. Sorry.
Uh-oh.
I was not even gonna look up.
It's just, under the septic program, letter C,
Yes,
that we're in their 3-year rotation plan, right?
yes.
And we
Okay,
pushed
so-
it out so far, we're at 4 now.
If you have an issue and you have your septic dealt with before that time, does your date start then or the date this year?
No, you stay on the same schedule, but you could possibly get an exemption for that.
Yeah, for the pumping, yeah.
Because the actual maximum is 5 years.
Okay, thank you.
So you'll have a little bit of play.
Thank you.
Is that your only question?
It is.
Any other questions?
Question, my comments.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm Adam Sanders, for
Okay.
anybody that doesn't know me, besides Bobby. I'm here tonight on a few concerns I have with the Township Office to resident communication. First concern I'm here for tonight is the response to my original email on October 1st for my letter of intent to the open position on the Township Planning Board. After 3 days, on October 4th, I stopped at the Township office and spoke with Ms. Peck about my email and my letter of intent. She informed me that she did not get my email, that it must have went to junk. She then found my original email and said that I need to send a second email with a little bit more information. I sat in my car in the Township parking lot and sent a second email answering all of Ms. Peck's questions and expressing my letter of intent for the open position of the Township Planning Board on October 4th at 9 o'clock in the morning. I received zero communication about either of my 2 emails since October 4th when I sent my second. So my question to you is, did you even see my letter of intent? My second is about my submission of 3 township complaints. On October 12th, I emailed Ms. Peck asking for the status of the complaints that I turned in at her office on October 4th. I told her I only asked because the neighbor in question is up the ante, so to speak, which I do have pictures of. I was informed by Ms. Peck that I should check back with her 15 days from the original date, which was October 4th. 15 days from October 4th is October 19th. On October 27th, 8 days after I was told to reconnect with Ms. Peck, I was told by her that my complaints are currently being investigated and appropriate measures are being taken. I replied that I only asked because I did speak with a woman in Chambersburg that used to do you guys enforcement, and she said that in her system and in the Gettysburg system that there is no word of any complaint about me or my township office as of October 27th at 2:55 p.m. Ms. Peck replied to my email stating that if the person investigating the complaint needs to speak to you, they have your contact and there's no reason for you to attempt to contact me. My question to you is, are you trying to control everything or hide something? These are my 2 pictures in question of my neighbor that I sent with the complaint. It is continued and has now escalated. I did find some regulations and ordinances for Liberty Township, I guess they're still in effect, that he's violating. I also have brought those as well. Another concern that I have is with the township is that I submitted a noise ordinance due to a well drilling at 6 a.m. at 29 Flender Trail directly behind my house at 23 Strasball Trail. I was informed by Ms. Peck on October 4th when filing the complaint that the township does not enforce a noise ordinance in Liberty Township. On October 13th, when I asked for the update on the drilling incident, I was informed by Ms. Peck that the complaint did not happen in Liberty Township and I would have to resubmit a new complaint with a Liberty Township address. I also have submitted the pictures of the address, and as you can see, the property is clearly in Liberty Township and never should have been tossed. So with all that being said, my question to you is, where are we at in the investigation? Is there an investigation? What bylaws, rules, laws, whatever do we have in Liberty Township that I've lived in all my life? And I was also informed by the police department that came, actually, this officer, for an incident that we had with the driveways. And I had to record over that, and hence why I'm here today. So I was informed by that police officer that they have no jurisdiction in our neck of the woods because we're private drive. They only come back there if they're called on, if they're called by 911. So I just wonder, what are the laws and bylaws that everyone is held accountable for? Because I will 100% abide by those laws, but I want everybody to abide by those laws. So being a prior military policeman, I want to know what my laws and bylaws are so that I can
Well, your home
do that. So
association.
where there is no homeowner.
I know, so you don't have any bylaws.
Right. Well,
Well,
Liberty
we have
Township
bylaws.
has to have bylaws.
No, we don't have bylaws, we have ordinances.
Okay, and this is just a question. So we have a guy that's dumping stones on the road and cutting off.
Well,
So
we,
there's
actually,
nothing against it. If I would come back with a dump truck from my father-in-law and dump pile stones on my private driveway that cuts everybody off, that's fine.
Well, I was actually back, and so was he.
Yeah.
And
You went back, looked
the
at it.
thing is, he did not drop it on the road. He dropped it on his property. We looked-
No, that's not on property.
That is his property.
Who?
Well, how do you determine that's not his property? It is his property.
That's the guy that's the cop that got arrested for hawking the freaking guns that were illegal. This
I don't know anything about that. When
Yeah.
we came back and looked at your complaint
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
I'm assuming what he's gonna do is
It's
that
all
field,
metal, that concrete.
that
debris.
field dirt, the field dirt,
Oh,
is
no,
concrete.
the original one's about the stones, that's what caused the cops to come back, because there was,
Can you show me the
a
pictures?
gentleman that, yep,
Stone?
sure.
Yeah.
Cause we came back and looked at the,
This is
field
what
dirt,
caused-
everything was dumped along the road.
Whoops, the incident, so I brought my father-in-law's tractor
Oh,
back
I see.
because these were in the middle of the road. So I brought them back because I wrecked my car into these pile stones because a deer ran in front of me. So I brought my father-in-law Chuck's equipment back
Mhm.
and I moved the piles. And then
Yeah.
I moved these over to his property, so
So
now
this-
it's putting on his property.
this
That's
is-
after I moved them.
This is the piles that they're putting back there to.
But I didn't see
field
those,
dirt.
that's not what we looked
No,
at.
we didn't look at
No.
that.
Right.
And where's that Flinter and Strasball,
This is
you
a-
saying?
This is
No,
a
that's
Flannery-
actually up on the Sidney.
This is on Flannery
Yeah.
Street, and I know exactly what that
Yeah.
is. We
No,
can't,
the neighbor across the street that he's on,
the guy at Flannery
Strasball,
Street,
Maine.
and see, that's the thing, Adam, we can't get involved in that because you are a private.
that's fine, that's what I'm just
developer.
trying to find out.
So we can't do
Where,
anything about that. And those guys bringing that stone in there to try to straighten out their road,
yeah. and
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But we did, go and look at your neighbor, the next door neighbor, to see what was going on there.
Right.
And he's got, appears to be,
It came
field
from-
dirt and stuff like that. I don't know what his
No.
intent is, but he
It's
has,
actually from his shop in town.
okay.
It's
Well,
all
he has so many
concrete
days-
and
he
all the
has so
stuff
many
that got ripped
days.
up and drug back
Yes,
there.
yeah, I know. He has 50 days to get that out.
Okay,
He has 50 days from the time he dropped it.
okay.
And then the other complaint that you had done was the well drilling. I'm
Well, actually,
assuming
not
that was,
enough for the neighbor. The neighbor was also his truck, that super rig that he has, and the fact that he's running a garage out of his residence. It's zoned residential, but yet he's working a garage out of his residence that I have to listen to
well, and
news break
that's the
cars
thing that
all
you,
day, all night, but yet we don't have a noise ordinance. Do we or don't we?
we have an ordinance in the township.
But does it apply to me and my
the
my
ordinance
land
is-
of Oz, as we say?
The ordinances, our ordinance apply to all of our township residents, correct?
If you have a noise ordinance, yes, it would
Yes.
apply in
It would apply to everyone. I know there's a time on that, Chris, I don't know what that time is, if it's 6 AM, 11 AM or something like that, but I know it's sometime.
7, I think.
Yeah,
If
typically
it's
it's
7 to 11 or something like that.
That sounds about right. It's gonna be based off of decibels.
And it's decibels, and then the reason we
Well
can't,
drilling from Alexander.
and we can't enforce that, because guess what we don't have?
A decibel meter.
A decibel meter.
I can give you one.
Yeah, because that came up before, that same exact thing came up before by the truck that was running up and down the road with his Jake brakes. Yes, we have a noise ordinance, no, we don't have a decibel meter, and to enforce it, we have to be there to actually do it. And that's the problem with that, so that's problematic with that.
Okay.
But as far as the guy with the stuff that's dumping
Super
stuff,
rig and the
he's
dump-
got 15 days, 50 days to get that out of there. And I do know that our zoning officer is looking into those things that you talked about.
Okay.
The thing up with Signor and, Flinter, again, that's private land. There's people that have that corner up there, if they decide they want to stone that area, that's,
Well, yeah, they can stone it, but when it comes on the road is what they do.
but the thing is, it's a private road, we can't do anything on it.
Okay. And that's all I wanted to hear was that I am allowed to do what I want to do back there as well.
Well, no, we're just telling you that it's not in violation of our ordinances.
So,
If
what
you-
I'm saying is if I do the same thing, I wouldn't be in violation either.
Of our ordinances, but
Correct.
that doesn't mean that there aren't other laws that may apply.
That's what I'm asking, that's what I.
Well, we're not gonna give you legal, we can only
I'm
tell
not
you.
looking for legal advice, I'm just looking for a direction of where to go to fix my problem. Because nobody can help me fix my problem and everybody just wants to push me off to the next
And
one.
what we've tried to do, Adam, in the past,
Mhm.
is we've tried to bring all of you guys together
Yeah.
and trying to get a home association or something other
Yeah. I see all
to
that.
bring your rates up, but we
Yeah.
can't get everybody to do that.
Right, right.
And that's that's problematic for the township. If you've been
Right.
reading some of our articles in the Immisburg
Uh-huh.
Journal and some of the minutes here in the township, that one of the biggest concerns we have in there is fire rescue, EMS rescue, and police rescue.
I
And
mean, I got a guy
what
back
you
there
do.
right now that's using, doesn't even have septic, but he's been living there for 5
Right,
years.
and see, if you file a complaint with that, we'll send the zoning guy out there to check
Right.
it out.
Right.
But you have to put in a written complaint. It has to be a written complaint. But, well, I will tell you, because we've had other issues back there with other residents,
Right.
they're back and forth now like a Pat to McCoy type of deal.
Absolutely. That's the
We
Wild West back there.
can't get involved, we can't get involved in that. We just can't do that. It has been a problem.
Okay.
But if you have a legitimate complaint,
Yep.
you fill out the form, the complaint form, we'll look at it.
Okay.
If we find that it is actually legitimate, we'll take action. If not, I believe we actually put in not too long ago, because we had people filing false complaints.
Mhm.
So it was running it's costing the township money to run people out there.
Right.
So if it's a false complaint, it will come back onto make the complaint, and they'll pay for it.
Absolutely. And I have installed cameras, I mean, throughout the whole property, so, video and.
And as far as,
So I will.
I'll address the other thing, as far as your application, or your, letter of interest to the zoning, to the planning board, it came in after the day we already had, another candidate had already put in for it,
Right.
and already been determined he was
One
gonna,
first.
yeah, he was gonna be, on the board, so that's the thing, if another owner comes
I
up,
just would have
you're
appreciated
interested?
told that then, instead of told to sit down here and send another email.
well,
It happened in 2 days there, and I do apologize. For whatever reason, we did not send you a letter, we should have sent you.
yeah, the letter should have went out to
Yeah.
anyone that applied
It
for it.
did.
That's oversight. for
No
us.
excuses, but we were overworked those 2 weeks, and we neglected to send you a letter, and I do apologize.
But if another position comes open and you're interested, absolutely, let us know. Because we're always looking, especially people, we need to get some people in that risk area involved, because it's a big issue. It really is a big issue.
It's literally the only place in the township that's zoned 100% residential,
Yes.
according to the maps.
Right.
Well,
But yet, it has all the problems.
one thing I'd like to see within the township is get some younger blood in here too.
100%?
I think it's needed for a lot of reasons.
Yep.
And as far as your complaint, when you send something by email, typically, we have it next day later, or at the latest.
Right.
And typically, within a day or 2 or 3, we're out looking at it and figuring out what we can and can't do.
My biggest thing with that, Bobby, honestly, is just a simple reply to say, okay, or we're checking into it, anything. It was literally the no response, no anything,
Mhm.
that pissed me off, that started it up. You know what I mean? It's like I've lived here all my life, and lived in Liberty Township all my life,
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of vested here,
yeah.
you know?
Well, you are, and we
Right.
certainly will consider you for anything else moving
Yeah,
forward.
no,
Currently, the
no,
board's
no,
full.
yeah. There's no
But
hard feelings.
I'm glad to hear you have an interest.
Yeah,
That's the
absolutely,
bottom line, so.
absolutely. Everything can always be better.
Well, Adam, thanks again, we appreciate it. Hopefully we get some of these stuff straightened out. I do know, because when we were out there looking at that, we also found another issue.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, so
Yeah, there's-
we addressed that too while we were there, so.
Yeah.
Well,
What's your proper address over there, if I may?
23 straws ball.
23 Straws.
Yep, and then I have an acre in the front, and then in the back, our property also goes up to Flinner. Mine's
Yeah,
past.
well, your house is on Straw.
The house is on straw ball, the sand mounds on the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
all right. Well, thank you very much, Adam. I appreciate that very much. And
Thank you.
hopefully, going forward, like I said, Hamilton Band just bought a grader. And, again, we have to approach this delicately, but I believe if those guys in this area could come together, that we may be able to convince them to let them borrow the grader to grade your roads, because those roads are terrible.
Because I do know a couple.
Well, and our concern is, You said it yourself, it's the
Yes.
Wild West back there.
It is, it's
And,
nuts.
you know, to get everybody to come together to make a decision that
Mhm.
we're gonna have an HOA and these are the fees and this is what we're gonna do,
Right,
is gonna be impossible.
it is.
You know
It's
that as well
almost
as
like,
I.
You know, and it's like, so what do you do to make that HO? You know, it's
I don't
like,
know.
so you're just kind of stuck.
You guys
in
gotta
it.
come together somehow.
I know, and
Yeah, that's the bottom
crazy.
line.
This has been going on for, well, ever since it's been Sharnita, you know.
Yeah.
It has,
50
it has.
years, you know.
My question has always been is how in the world are you guys getting fire insurance and homeowners insurance back when the fire trucks can't even get back there?
State Farm.
And that,
They're good.
and you don't have water either, so they
We
gotta
don't.
run it from
We don't,
Carroll Valley.
Yep.
Which is a long way.
absolutely. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much for your comments, Adam. Hopefully that helped you out, and, like I said, we'll continue forward as far as on that, the guy that's got the stuff going on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate
See what's going on with that.
Yeah, because all that is just came from his construction in town. I mean, he's
Well,
doing
he-
it up there and
If
down
he's not
there.
gonna use it for field, he's not gonna use it.
Yeah, because I mean, when I'm backing out of the driveway, I can't even get out of the driveway. And it just, yeah.
That's
Okay,
nice.
So, all right.
thanks again, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Kinsley Construction, Kinsley Construction, when we did the Bullfrog, not Bullfrogs, when we did, we did Bullfrog Road, Irishtown, and Brent Road, we had a change order, that we, did not get approved, correct?
They never submitted it
They never
until they
sub-
submitted the bill.
Yeah,
And
they
it's a very
submitted
small one, what's the amount on that?
$643.20.
Yes, we need to have that voted on.
Yeah, they finally submitted the bill with the change order, and I need to make a motion that we, include the $643.20, in the bill for the change order. That was for the additional, work that they had to do for Brent,
Fog seal.
the fog seals.
Fog
they did.
seal.
Yeah,
I'll make a
fog seal.
motion that we pay that bill.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very
Did you,
much.
wait, who seconded it?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
I'll second it. All right, codification, description.
In case you don't know, I don't know how this happened in all the awe and wonder of accepting the proposal for codification. We did not realize that we would not be able to download or print the codification unless we have this level of subscription. And when you look at the different levels, the only one that allows for printing is the highest level. So
How much difference?
it's like it's $1,200 total is what the annual subscription fee is. I think it's $200 more than the mid-level, and the one we currently have is the $600 level that just allows us to look it up.
So we gonna need to pay an additional $600 or $1,200?
I will check with them to get credit for the $600. Thank you very much, Mr. Kyle.
Yeah.
So, yes, we will have them apply a credit for the $600.
Yeah. Now, and we're capable of doing that with our system. We'll be able.
All we're doing is accessing a website,
Okay.
but they've locked it, so we can't print those items or download them. We can just look at them. And that's interfering with my ability to get the codification passed, because currently Jessica's been scanning the printed versions they gave us so that I can distribute those to the appropriate parties for review so that we can move forward with adoption. So
That's annually, $11.95.
that is an annual fee, so what is that, like $100 a month?
What do they charge per, if we ask them to print a copy of the codification? What do
What
they
is
charge?
it, $70 per
Copy.
print, $70 per copy. So if someone says, hey, can I get a copy? Or someone goes on and off the board and doesn't hand in their copy, or if we update it, it's $70.
But Wendy, once we get the code books,
Right?
if we need a copy, why wouldn't we just make a copy?
We
from-
would, but I'm saying, that's what Jessica's doing now. So if we don't ever wanna have to download it, or if we don't ever wanna have to print it for any other reason, and if we just wanna print from the paper copies, we can do that.
How many pages is that? Do you recall?
Ask Jessica, she's the
A lot.
one dealing with
About that thick?
Because this is the zoning
Yeah,
it's all done,
right.
it's every, and it's everything else.
But $1,200 per year, and we might not use it for 2 or 3 years.
No, that's an online subscription, so the public can also, they can also download and print their own copies if they want to print a copy of a page, or if zoning themselves needs to print it.
And they go through our website.
They click on a link to our website.
I think if we ran.
Honestly, I don't agree with this, I just don't know what the.
My thing is we could take one codification book that we have,
And that's what
run
just,
it into Staples, give them, say,
That's-
here,
and
run
that's
us some
fine.
books. I
Yeah.
don't think we're gonna have $1,200.
that's fine, Jessica is actually, she's having a grand old time right now, she was
I scanned
scanning
it all in, yeah.
scanning it all in.
But anytime it changes then,
We have to,
everybody would have to get,
we still would have to pay for
All we
it.
have to do is get one copy and then do the same
The
thing.
problem is it's constantly changing in their master file, and we start passing out or using our own printed version, it won't be the same as the one that's in their file, and that could lead to some confusion. I wonder how hard and fast are they on this requirement that they did not make us aware of, or we didn't look up?
I'm not sure.
$1,200
Why don't
a
we-
year?
A year.
that's a lot.
It is.
That's a lot of, I mean,
That's-
if we were talking $250, I'd go, okay.
I'm with you, I think it's ridiculous.
So, right now, with the $600 level we're at now,
That's just them hosting it.
okay, so that doesn't give somebody the
They
the
can
ability
search.
to go on our website, to go to the codification, be
Yes,
able
they
to
can
read.
look at it.
They can look at it.
Yes.
That's good enough for me.
Okay, then that's fine, and then like I said, Jessica,
Internet.
You can still read it, you just gotta
So
go to your
then just-
computer.
so here's where we are, then Jessica will make the, however many copies we need to distribute based on us scanning and copying it. So we are ordering binders and making our own books so that we can distribute paper copies.
How much you think you're gonna have in that, Jessica? How many hours do you think? and
Hours.
Hours?
I have it all scanned, I'm waiting for my paper to come, because I ordered paper
A
that was
couple more
already.
cases of paper.
How about if we go back and do a little negotiating with these people? I mean, we've spent a lot of money with them,
We sure have.
and
for
we are
years.
gonna give them a favorable number of stars in
For a
our
volunteer.
appreciation.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, if we do this every year,
I wouldn't do this every year
we
because
have
I,
$20,000 in
no,
this
I
sucker
would
in the
not,
meantime.
I would definitely not do this every year if we did even do it this coming year. Because I know a lot of people who
Yeah.
and gone away from general code in hosting and they've taken it back from them and gone to a different service provider.
So Wendy, when you say general code is hosting, so if a resident goes on general code site
Yeah.
and they pull it up, why couldn't they just click print?
They can click it, but it looks like an old-timey website and all the words are stretched out. They're not formatted anymore. You know how it's formatted for us with the, oh, okay, here is the title of the code and it's section whatever and all the indentations. It's just one big, it is, it's one big page of words, you can do that, but it's just an unformatted texted document.
Well, my understanding is though, the way it's happened with my other townships who have general code, they have maybe 15 code books.
Okay,
And that's what they originally got. And when they send into general, and that would be for the supervisors,
Correct.
solicitor, planning commission members,
right,
you would have a couple copies here. And so if you enact a new ordinance or 2 or 3, at the end of the year, you send them the ordinances.
right,
And then they send you 15 supplements.
right, just like we get with the PA code book.
Right.
Correct.
And
No,
so,
I
you-
understand.
and so then that's how you know that your version, the hardbound copy, is updated.
Completely, I understand that.
And so then I'm assuming they would do that the same on their copy they have online.
That is correct.
Yeah, so,
If you don't want me to be able to edit it in Word myself or anything like that, if you wanna leave it, then that's, whatever. Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, so the only people, I guess, then who would suffer who are residents if they want a copy. They can view it online, but if they wanted a copy, they wouldn't be
Or
able.
if, right, so all we can do is photocopy the hard copies that are provided to us by general code, and that's fine, as long as the board is aware of the situation.
Do we get a copy, a new batch of 15 every year for the lower?
No.
Well, typically, if somebody has a question about ordinances, they're gonna come in with a specific question about whatever it might be.
Correct.
A noise ordinance or a well drilling or whatever it might be. So that's pretty simple. You would have that you could photocopy off of what Jessica's gonna develop, right? And give them that page or pages that covers their question, right?
No, there is a total workaround in this manual, I just wanted to make you aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing I wanna say is I know in some of my other townships, you might have, like a guy like Lee Royer, he doesn't do a lot here, but in Washington Township, he does. I would bet he probably paid the $70 to get his own copy, and then he probably, I think, might be paying general code to get his updated also, separate from us. So someone can do that too, I believe, if they wanted to. You know, outside of our 15.
Are you saying they would buy it from general code directly?
Yeah, or they could get it from us.
No,
And
they would have to ask us. to
They could
order
get it from us,
Yeah.
but then they would have to pay us
And that's
$70.
totally fine
Yeah.
if somebody wants to purchase a book, and I think we have, there is a price for, we would set a price for the code book in the fee schedule based on what general, it might just even say whatever the going price is, retail for general code at the time. But, yeah,
Yeah, I
no,
was
we can
thinking
do that,
too.
that's totally fine. But I really just wanted to let you know that, I didn't realize I couldn't print it until I was trying to, move forward with, getting the ordinance set away and advertised and the meeting posted. But if you're totally okay with doing it this way, where we're scanning and copying and making notebooks for this process, I don't believe in spending $70 for a one-time review, because we will have to make 5 or 6 copies for the planning commission, and then we have to send them to Adams County as well. And if we're actually ordering them from general code, as we getting quite expensive, $70 a book.
Well, you probably need about a dozen.
Right.
Yeah, but we're not gonna get, yeah, our initial cost is gonna be a little bit, but $1,200 every single year, it ain't gonna cost us that.
No.
The contract was so long ago, I don't remember, but weren't we to be given so many copies at the end of the contract?
We were, and I think the board only ordered 6,
Something like that.
Well.
not realizing that it wouldn't be downloadable.
Well, we'll have less than $1,000 in to cover, Judy's group,
Okay,
us,
so
you girls.
this is great, so the motion would be to go ahead and order enough additional books, is that right, for the planning commission? And then when we get new members, and people neglect to turn their books in?
Well, they're not doing that, those things, they're gonna give them.
No, they should be good about, you should, that's.
You say that.
Well, but the burden's gonna be on you to
Oh,
get them.
No, it's not on me, not on me.
It's on here,
You better look out someone else.
the police man, go get her
Not
books.
on me. Treat them
Well, technically, he's right, once they're not a supervisor, that book is township property.
And I think that they need to know that when we hand them the book.
Yeah,
You could sign it like we signed for the keys.
sign for it,
That's right.
like keys
The
and
book
everything
is the
else.
property of the township.
Mhm.
Don't color the corners of your pages.
But I wouldn't order any more right at the beginning, because it's gonna go to the hearing, right?
Yeah,
And it might get changed, so.
that's my other concern. So we'll go ahead with what we're doing since Jessica has
Six.
already scanned it, so, and she's ordered the paper. So we'll make these kind of sloppy copies for now.
Yeah.
Sounds
For
good.
until it's actually adopted.
We'll table the rest.
And then once it's adopted, we'll decide how many we want to order.
Okay,
Okay, does that make sense?
sounds good.
We'll move forward with that then.
Thank you. So tabling that.
Okay.
Okay, anybody got objections to that?
No.
Okay. Septic program late notices, okay, what Jessica needs to know. She needs to send out these letters to these people, for the company. So Jessica, what do you want us to do?
So the question is that we need to know how to proceed further, because we have a bunch of residents that still haven't met homes as of October 31st. Now, granted, the haulers still have an additional 30 days to hand in some of the septic pumping letters, so we really can't send out second notices if that's the way we're gonna go until after November 30th anyway. But the question is, how do we proceed further? Are we sending out second notices with a new date and letting people know they can be held accountable by a fine? Are we not issuing second notices and just going forward with fines? That's a decision that you guys need to make.
Well, I believe we have to go with the second notice because of all the stuff that went down. Maybe we give them a second notice and make it effective January 1st. They have to,
Well, we were thinking because we couldn't get them out anyway, we need at least till November 30th to get them all, and then we were thinking we could send out letters no later than December 10th, but then we have to give them a couple of weeks to respond. So Wendy and I were thinking like mid-February,
that's fine.
if we have them, the deadline by mid-February.
Yep.
I think we discussed February 11th might be good. And then, in that letter, is it okay to let them know that they can be fined? I mean, our ordinance states they can be fined up to $1,000 per day,
It's pretty.
Well, that's what our ordinance says,
so.
and we're not going against our ordinance.
Okay.
Because if we do that, we have to change the ordinance. That's what the ordinance says, that's what the ordinance says.
Well, it's up to $1,000 per day.
Correct.
Yeah,
Right.
So that's up to the judge.
yeah.
That's correct. Yeah, so we don't want to be putting anything in there that's gonna
It's the same as what's going on.
take away from our ordinance, because we don't want to interfere with our ordinance. If our ordinance says that, that's what it says. Unless we change the ordinance, and we have no intention of changing the ordinance. Because then we have to go back to complication.
Well,
We just wanted confirmation it's okay to do second notices and put those dates in.
Okay.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so we'll just move forward.
Just make a motion that we send, second notices out and just,
December
would we
11th?
say December, by December 11th?
Right.
And with a deadline, but,
February 11th.
Yeah, that's February 11th.
so if someone could just make that motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
That we send out a letter for December 11th, notification, and they have until February 11th to get their place, their things pumped, or they could be fined after that point in time.
And who's seconding?
Second?
Second?
Thank
All in
you.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, let's get this going here. As opioid lawsuit, everybody have an opportunity to see that, and Wendy sent us about the lawsuit with the opioid problem.
Yeah, just real quick, you need 10,000 residents in order to be able to participate.
We don't have it, so
To me, that, I don't understand the logic there, but that's, it is what it is, so you're not eligible.
yes, sir, we can chip over that.
All right. Next.
Updating the waste contract, I was not able to go to that last meeting due to the tree canopy work, but, Wendy, did we get any updates from anyone else about?
I talked to Fairfield on the phone about it. Carroll Valley's solicitor is reviewing the bids process. I don't really have a summary on that. She'll let me know in the next meeting. Is Carroll Valley's taking the lead in that group?
Right.
And I said, we're not objecting to that right now because we don't have anyone available and they can just keep us posted and see where they're progressing. I think they're gonna be pushing this out and the bids aren't even gonna go out until January or February.
Right.
They're so far behind on this. So they're working on it. I'll keep you posted and then when somebody, I'll let you know in the next meeting and see if someone can,
Okay.
go to it.
Oh, sounds good. Any updates, on the cable franchise
Here's
fees?
my update. My update is, are we doing anything about it? Because Comcast is not, I've not heard from Comcast. I know Bob was trying to go back and forth with Comcast. It expires technically to August 2022. And then Bob has had some conversations with he wants to report.
You know, I've been talking to the other people who've been duking it out with Comcast, and no progress has been made by any of them. Comcast is absolutely no. And what they have been requesting is the Hamilton Band and Carroll Valley they want to use, have Comcast support the community TV station.
Right.
And I don't see much interest in our community for that TV station.
Right.
And so we're just sort of waiting and watching now. We have we're now allowed to negotiate our Comcast contract. Before we were barred because ours didn't expire in a certain period of time. But those who have negotiated so far have not concluded anything at all, except no. That's all they hear. And now we expect the same thing will happen with us. We have several people. It's some quantity. It was originally 5, and now I understand from Dave in Carroll Valley that there's more than 5 who want to get Comcast service, and Comcast wanted to charge them $100,000. They have been gracious enough to spend, offer to spend our COVID money, pay their fee, and reduce the out-of-pocket charge to $29,000 for the people who want to get the service.
The answer's still no.
Well, the answer is, what about all the other people in the community? Are we gonna spend $29,000 or part of it to put service in for a small part? So the answer is no. Give us a map and show us what you're now covering, and that's secret. So I have the street addresses, but I'm not gonna plot out a map and show. So the answer is they're a very difficult organization to work with. And I talked to Bob Gordon, who's been sort of the chairman for COG and for his own Hamilton band, and he says he's made no progress at all. And he's hopeful they can provide for the government PEGS channel, but we don't want that anyway. So the answer is that there's no progress, and I will continue to follow it up.
Good.
And I don't expect any beneficial results.
All right, thank you very much for that. Item G, to consider the comments on the Washington Township, Franklin County on their zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan. I don't know that we have any comment. It doesn't affect us one way or another.
No.
I'm not gonna
So
recommend.
your response is no comment?
Our response is no comment. That's my motion.
Your motion is to no comment. Is there a second?
Yep.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the last thing we have on our agenda tonight is the Adams County Association of Township. They have tried, they want Wendy to become the secretary. She was a treasurer some years ago. We don't participate in this program very much at all, other than their yearly conference. I'm gonna make a recommendation that we drop out of the Adams County Township Association.
Well, Mickey, I agree with you. I think it's important for this township to be involved in other civic matters. Keep our association relationships open and going, but some of them are just a waste of time, and this happens to be one of those.
Right.
So I agree with you on
I'll second.
All in favor?
that. Aye.
Aye.
I would like to send them a letter, so I'll draft something for you to sign, Mr. Barlow, is that okay?
That'd be fine. Yep. I think that's all we have here tonight, isn't it, Wendy? Yes, it is.
One last item on
Yes. Who wants to make that?
there. Make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for your time, and I know it's a little longer tonight. But our next meeting is November the 10th, 6:30, and that is for budgetary and also for our year application for our police officers. And
Wendy, can I meet with you and Brandon?
all right, welcome aboard, bud.
No, can I meet with you and Brandon?
When she comes back, we'll have you come in and swear you in. And we appreciate all the work you did and everything. So, it's be done.
That's for me.